Hey, Steve Mignani here, not doing the junkyard crawl. It's February, it's cold outside, we're in Massachusetts, so we're indoors doing the JoHan crawl. Now, if you know my history, JoHan is one of my favorite model kit manufacturers, and we're going to talk today about JoHan flat box 64 Mopars. Now, back in 1965 or 66, if you saw this ad in any of the hobby magazines, Rod and Custom or Model Car Science magazine, you saw they were talking about the Ramchargers 64 and the Golden Commandos 64 Mopars. Well, the reality is these kits came out again as what we call flat box Mopars. And JoHan's, the boxes are flatter, and these kits today are incredibly rare. I paid $150.91 for this one here on eBay, and it was a value, a screaming deal, really. It's all there. And again, these are not reproductions. These have not been reproduced, and I say yet. Don't know if they ever will be. That's the Golden Commandos, the Dodge Ram Charger. This one right here, I paid $275 for this one. But again, at a show, you might spend up to $400 for this one. And again, it's complete, and you just have to love the box art on this thing. It's mouth-watering goodies, and it shows all the frame and all that stuff. And speaking of the frame, we can see here on the box art, it shows the standard Super Stocker and a flip-top funny car. Well, we all know the Ram Chargers didn't have a flip-top anything until 1967 with that Dodge Dart fiberglass flip-top funny car. So these are kind of fictitious fantasy models, and it wouldn't be the first time that a manufacturer of model kits played fast and loose with history. But let's take a quick look inside. But before we do that, let's remember that JoHan was also known for its line of airplane models. This is the Messerschmitt BF-109, and these are pretty cool little models. The only downside is that these are not collectible. This is $5. So, you know, it's a little bit of a different world when you're talking JoHan aviation models. But they had a pretty extensive line. But JoHan is mostly known for their model car kits. And if you didn't know, JoHan is short for John Hanley, who is the founder of the company in 1947, a full year before AMT, which is generally regarded as the giant of the industry, AMT, one of the best. But 1948 for AMT, 1947 for JoHan, which at that point was known as Ideal Models. But by 1954-55, JoHan became the name. And it's not pronounced JoHan, it's JoHan. Anyway, without further ado, let's take a peek at the Golden Commandos. Now, the beauty of this kit is that we have the Richard Petty 43 1964 Daytona winner and the Golden Commandos factory fictitious flip-top funny car Plymouth Belvedere. Now, this Richard Petty model has been re-released by JoHan, and we see it right here. This kit came back, you can see right there, the same box art, you know, pretty similar. And this came along like in the 1971-72 era. But one thing that the Richard Petty model lacks, the re-release, is the flip-top funny car parts. Now here we'll take a peek inside. Now we can see the roll cage, the body. This is molded in white plastic, which is beautiful. And this does have the, not the JoHan curse, but there's the chassis with all the exhaust and suspension molded in. But the body's beautiful. But what this does have is the Lowe Brothers tube frame. There it is right there. And that's a wonderfully rendered tube frame funny car chassis, first seen in 1966 under the Lincoln Mercury Cyclone funny cars with Don Nicholson and Art Crispin, those guys. But the same basic frame was also available to people, anybody wanted to build a funny car. Now, it never happened. There was no 64 Dodge flip-top funny cars, but this model kit, this Plymouth in particular, is a great rendition. And the beauty is, here's the Hemi engine right here with a 4-speed transmission, and it's kind of nutty that if you build a flip-top funny car or Richard Petty's car, you got a 4-speed tranny. And I can't think of any flip-top funny car Mopars that ran a 4-speed, but hey, what can you do? It's a model. The Hemi is beautiful. Again, JoHan Hemis have molded in hemispherical combustion chambers, and the instructions on this thing are wonderful. Here's the funny car instructions, and even better than that, the decals. Look at this, Golden Commandos on the bottom and Richard Petty. And these decals, these are the original ones from 1966, 67. This kit is very well preserved. And again, the instruction sheet has the usual beautiful mouth-watering illustrations that you might expect from kits of that time. Here's the petty Plymouth build version right there. And again, this model, I was happy to pay what I paid for it because they just don't reproduce these things. And if they ever will or not, it's unknown. It's pretty unlikely. A fellow named Oki Spalding is currently the owner of the JoHan remains, and the trouble is that most of the tooling has been scrapped or destroyed, so it no longer exists. But with that said, you know, if the monogram Rommel's rod can be re-released, well then so too maybe could these, if somebody wants to digitize. Okay, here is the Ramchargers 64. This is the one that was $275, and I get it. Let's open this one up. Same basic chassis on this one as the Golden Commandos, and again, the white body, here it is right here, the white 64 Plymouth, or yes, 64 Dodge body, beautifully rendered. Same, you know, one-piece chassis, you know, ho-hum. But again, speaking of chassis, here it is again, the Lowe Brothers tube frame on display right there, and 8 3/4 rear axle. And the funny thing is, this very same center section, this 8 3/4, was also used in the JoHan turbine car model kit. So JoHan did a good job of sort of, modular construction on their tooling. They could move one part from kit to kit, and if it was good enough for use over and over, it was generally a very good part. One thing I love about this model is the steel wheels. These are the chrome steel wheels right here. These are the stock steel rims that I take the chrome off of these things, and then I use them on on super stock models. The front wheels in particular are beautiful. They just look awesome. So chromed or stripped and then painted, it doesn't get any better than these. And the crazy part really is that we have the Ramchargers decals in the kit. Now the only downside to this is applying the roof and trunk graphics right there, getting them lined up and having them not turn yellow over time. I will say that most kids, probably this was beyond most kids' skill set, let alone trying to paint that stuff on with masking and spray paint. But hats off to JoHan for including these graphics, and especially the door graphics right there in color Ramchargers. Now here's the thing with the Ramchargers. Currently the Ramchargers brand is owned by a pretty savvy guy. And you will not be using the Ramchargers logo without first talking to him and getting a license to do that. It did happen. Recently, Lindberg came out with this. This is a re-release of, well, it's a brand new tool, actually. This is not the JoHan model. This is actually probably 15 years ago or so. It's a good kit. It has some problems. My issue with this kit is that the body line goes on a weird angle. This slope right here down the side of the car goes like that. It's kind of hard to get behind if you're a serious model builder. Kind of weird body, but I do like the two-door post body style. It's very correct and awesome. And this one does have the Ramchargers graphics inside. And again, the Ramchargers logos, they're not in this box, doesn't matter. Oh, here they are. But this is a great model in many ways, and it does have the Ramchargers logos and graphics inside of it. So again, this is an officially licensed Ramchargers kit. Now getting back to that whole notion of the Ramchargers and licensing, around 1972-73, JoHan brought back the 64 Dodge, but we can see something unusual about this one. The box art, right? On the side, it's kind of yellow. It has the cool graphics here, super groovy parts, but on the front, there it is again, recharged. What's a recharged? Well, it's how you imply Ramchargers without paying for the Ramchargers brand, which in 1971-2-3 was kind of defunct, but clearly JoHan did not have permission to utilize the Ramchargers graphics in 1972-ish when this thing was released. So they came out with the next best thing, recharged, and with a wink wink, you kind of got the point. But here's the downside to these re-releases. JoHan started molding these things in wacky colors. Here's the orange. The original was this pure white, which again, the trouble with any kind of other than white is spray painting over this. If you have anything other than white, you've got to clear or seal this with either white or gray primer. Otherwise, this orange is going to tint your blue, your green, your red, whatever you put over this, except for black, you're going to be in some trouble. So that's one of the issues where JoHan's re-releases are good and not so good in many ways. But this is a built-up recharge right here. This is how the kit came out when done. This one I bought on eBay. It's a pretty good piece. re-release. Again, we see the beauty of those chromed steel wheels, the fronts and the rears, the M&H Racemaster cheater slicks, which actually have Watertown, Massachusetts logos in them. They're that nice. And again, this is JoHan stuff right out of the box. And I love the Hemi engine in this thing. There it is right there, kind of falling apart. But the cross-ram Hemi engine with the cylinder head, and the beauty of these things too. It's the K head with the flat end right there, correct for 64, 65. And the cylinders, the chambers right there, the hemispherical combustion chambers. When I was about 9 years old, I got a JoHan 64 recharge Dodge, and that's when I first saw a hemispherical combustion chamber. When I was, again, 9 years old, would have been 1975. Unfortunately, a buddy of mine had a pellet gun, and well, my first JoHan 64 Dodge became splinters thanks to that pellet gun. But that's the story of the flat box JoHans. Now, here's one thing about these things. Will they ever be re-released? I don't know. Again, Rommel's rod, this model right here, was re-released, about 8 years ago. Revell Monogram actually found an original kit that was unbuilt. The trees, the plastic trees, they scanned and digitized the trees and then re-released the model. I imagine it was expensive, but not nearly as expensive as starting from scratch. Well, if that can be done, you have to assume that it could be done for one of these old JoHan kits. And here's the thing, if I'm spending $200-300 for these kits, I'll happily spend $30 or $40 for a re-release, and I bet I'm not the only one. So Tom Lowe, the people at Round 2, or anybody else, Okie Spaulding, who currently owns the JoHan remnants, if you step up and create these kits, digitize an original, I have 2 of them here, I'll loan them to you if you want to use them as the clone material. You might have yourself a success on your hands. And with that said, we know that Tom Lowe, the father of Johnny Lightning, maybe about 15 years ago or so, came out with this. This is the Holland Hearse. This is also an old JoHan model, a very rare one. It's a Cadillac hearse with 2 Hemis in it, great Hemis with Hilborn fuel injection. Well, here's the original box art right there. So Tom Lowe knew enough to duplicate the Holland Hearse in 1/64th diecast and include a replica of the original JoHan box with the JoHan name. So if Tom Lowe and people like that are thinking like this, it's only a half step away for them to re-release the original goodies from JoHan from back in the day. But until then, well, if you're hunting for these things on eBay, you'll be competing with me because I love these things. I'm a junkie for flat box JoHans. And again, it just doesn't get better than this kind of box art right here. Now, if you like this model car video, there's a lot more of this coming. And of course, we'll also be in the junkyard shortly once the snow melts. And in fact, we'll be hitting it pretty soon, going back with the junkyard crawl and the muscle car crawl with our friends at High Octane Classics in Auburn, Massachusetts. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the Steve Maggs YouTube channel. Pretty much every day, a new traipse through the past, a new crawl video just for you. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.